Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Bears versus Packers reaction. That's right, another one in the books. Bears lose again to Green Bay, 10-27, under the lights in Lambeau once again. Hello once again to those viewers who are just here to watch me yell and scream about the Bears losing to the Packers once again. Well, this time I didn't get my hopes up at all. Before I go any further, I just want to point out this is the first video where all of my flags have officially been hung up. I hung these up over the weekend, and perfect timing because this is the Bears-Packers reaction, so this one's sure to gain traction. So, I know why a lot of you are here. A lot of you want to just come here and get some good laughs from a Bears fan who just is fed up with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. But I didn't want to do that because that's stale at this point. There are so many Bears fans out there who have similar channels like this who just all they do is just scream and yell about the Packers. Hell, I've done that before. But for this one, I think I personally did a good job to not set myself up for disappointment, because let me tell you, the build-up to this game was something else. The build-up to this game was, frankly, I was a little bit surprised with how many people were actually giving the Bears a shot. Because historically, in Lambeau, in the last decade, they've won once. And that was Thanksgiving on Brett Favre's retirement. And that's the only time we've won in Lambeau in the past decade. I actually find it as, just even regardless of thinking about the rivalry, I find it peculiar that the NFL, and NBC specifically, likes to put the game in Lambeau on primetime every single season, rather than the game in Chicago, or even just mixing it up and choosing one or the other, like they do with the Eagles and the Cowboys. So yeah. That's all I'm trying to say. Even just as, not even just a Bears fan, just as a football fan, I'd like to see something else. I would personally also, as a Bears fan, would love to spare the rest of the entire country of having to watch this embarrassment of a franchise. This was frankly a better game than the last 2 years that we saw in terms of just strict neutral perspective, just wanting to watch a good game that was competitive. Because the last 2 years, the Bears and Packers played in Lambeau on Sunday Night Football, and they were both around the kind of the similar score. Bears around 20 points, Packers around 45. I mean, it's a 20-point game that got out of hand by either halftime or the middle stages of the third quarter. So seeing that the Bears had the ball with about 8 minutes left, down 14, and threatening to score, that was honestly kind of nice to actually see the Bears stay in the game for longer than 2.5 quarters. But there were a couple things, especially on that drive specifically, where they were down 14 and trying to score, that I want to touch on. But real quick, I wanted to say something. I wanted to say here, before I go any further, that I didn't watch the first half. I kept up with it on my phone, looking at the play-by-play, but I didn't actually watch the game. And that was because I had an obligation for school that I had to go do, of course, during this time of the day, which was just great. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing I could have done about it. Of course, the day that this obligation happens, of course, the week and the Sunday night happens, is when the Bears are playing on Sunday Night Football. So I ended up missing the first half of the game and came in around halfway through the third quarter, I think. But with that out of the way, I know what happened in the second quarter, though. I was paying attention to what was going on in the game every now and then, and look, from what I had seen through that, this was a win that was anchored by the running backs of the Green Bay Packers. I'll be honest, I was surprised to see the Bears score a touchdown on their opening drive. Now, they did this at the end of 2020, where they scored a touchdown and a really long opening drive. Packers had the opening drive. They put up a field goal. Bears defense came up good. And the Bears offense, they played pretty well and got a score from Justin Fields running it in, which I thought was a really good drive. And they took the lead, and they would actually hold the lead till the end of the first quarter. On the first play of the second quarter, the Packers would end up scoring a touchdown. So that lead going into the end of the quarter was really only there because Green Bay just needed one more play to put it in the end zone. But this is what I was fearful of here. The Bears offense looked pretty good here on the first drive. But it was more because the Packers are really good at adjusting. They're really good at making adjustments, and they can shut you down. That defense has gotten scarily good over the past couple of years. And what's really weird, and I find honestly kind of weird, they always seem to play the best. Like, when it comes to Green Bay, their best game typically is their home game against Chicago. They really iron out how much they want to beat this team. They do it year in and out. Year in, year out. Can I speak? So, Packers defense tightens up and forces 3 straight 3-and-outs. And this is where the game was won for Green Bay. Because not only did we go 3-and-out, because that keeps our defense out on the field longer than we would like. And then with Aaron Rodgers, he's really patient. He knows how to beat this team. He's done it so many times before. It's basically right in the back of his mind. It's like a routine. Just knows exactly how to beat this team. It's super easy for him. Because he stays in there, doesn't need to get too hasty. He's very patient when he plays Chicago. When you locked at Green Bay against Minnesota last week, very impatient. He got almost too patient, and he struggled in Minnesota because he wasn't making the adjustments that you'd expect a quarterback to make. He made the adjustments. Didn't really need to make too many adjustments though. But Bears would punt. Packers would then punt. Bears would then punt again and give it right back to him. Which this was where the game turned. When the Bears punted the first time, and I saw that. Because we're talking about the first half, all I was seeing was the play-by-play. So when I saw that we punted, I knew that it was a bit of a tough break. I knew that they were going to punt a couple times in the game. That's usually a given with this offense. Sometimes more than you'd like to, but they punt at least twice, 3 times a game. So they punt. They force Green Bay to punt again, which was really good because Aaron Rodgers. I don't really have any other reason. And the problem here, when the Bears take this ball back, they give it right back to him. He makes these adjustments and puts it in the end zone. So the Packers now are up 17-7. Bears would go 3-and-out again. And Green Bay would score another touchdown. And by here, it's over. It's over. How many times have we seen this with the Bears? Bears fans, you know you've seen this so many times where the team goes up a tough competition and you're like, this team can stay in games, but the offense has always been the part of the side of the ball that we need going our way more than the defense, because the defense, they are resilient. The defense, they play well pretty much regardless. But it's when they get tired that the defense starts to get gashed and starts to get the yardage just starts to rack up. Because the Bears defense, they're good. They just can't stay out on the field for as long as they do and as long as they did in this game. Green Bay dominated time of possession. They held the ball for over 37 minutes. Chicago had for about 22. And this is it right here. Your defense is out for 15 minutes more than your offense. They start to get tired. They needed that halftime break because they played very well in the second half. Only letting up 3 points to Green Bay. The only problem, the offense couldn't climb their way back in. They ended up getting a field goal off a fumble recovery that the defense would force. But that was the extent of the scoring. Put it this way. If you take out the second quarter and all the points scored, the game is 10-6 Chicago. Bears outscored Green Bay for 3 quarters in this game. But the one quarter that they didn't was what made this game look not really even close. And the offense would stall in the second quarter. I don't even think they got a first down in the second quarter. They went 3 and out 3 straight times, and that is what killed this team, because the defense would get tired. You need to go back. You need to rest. That rest time is super important, because then you can play your best when you're out in the field. They couldn't. The offense, we've seen this several times with Trubisky, and even before then with Jay Cutler. Bears offense just couldn't get anything going. Go 3 and out again. They're punting it back to the other team, and the defense has got to make another big stop. You can only have so many big defensive plays in the game. The offense needs to have a couple to balance it out and keep you in the game. Honestly, if the Bears offense was able to take some more clock off, they may prevent that final touchdown in the second half to happen, and then there you go. All of a sudden, it's 20-10 now. And before the field goal that would make it a 3-score game, it would have been, 17-10? So, I mean, frankly, this is where the team lost this game. Green Bay had 414 yards. Defense, you can't do that. Can't do that. Granted, you got to think about the just trying to waste time type of yards. Aaron Rodgers had only really one big throw, and that was to Sammy Watkins late after the Bears failed to score on a 4th and goal, which I'll get to in just a minute. But that was really, to my knowledge, because again, I only watched the second half, that was the only big throw Aaron Rodgers connected on. And so they did a pretty good job neutralizing the big play, the explosive play, which Aaron Rodgers has killed us on in a lot of games. So it's the running game was truly what killed this defense and tired them out. Aaron Rodgers had, I think, a little over 200 yards passing this game, and the run game got a little over 200 as well. I mean, they had a very, very balanced offense. And Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is such a great two-headed monster. Pretty much, I think that they may be the best running duo outside of maybe Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt for Cleveland. But, oh my goodness. What makes Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon so hard to defend, and what makes them being able to rack up all this yardage, is because they are very powerful runners. They are very, especially A.J. Dillon. A.J. Dillon's a great pound runner who just beats you up pretty much. Just bulldozes straight ahead, just tires your defense out. Aaron Jones is a bit more on the speedy side, but he can do the exact same thing. And that's what makes Aaron Jones as good as he is. That makes A.J. Dillon a perfect number 2 back. And that's where the game was won. Aaron Jones technically caught a touchdown, but if I remember correctly, it was more just kind of a take the snap, just kind of throw it, and just shovel it, kind of like a jet sweep, but not handing it off. But that was a passing touchdown, and Allen Lazard caught one. I think it was Aaron Jones who ran in for another one. But, they played pretty well. The running backs was, in my eyes, where this game was truly won, because the secondary, while not playing great, Aaron Rodgers did enough. That's kind of what this game is. Aaron Rodgers did enough. He didn't need to blow open the stat sheet and throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. You don't need to do that to beat this team. They stuck with the run game, and it was working, They didn't abandon the run game, and I think that was a very smart choice for Matt LaFleur in the scheming. Sammy Watkins had 3 receptions for 93 yards. No one in this game had more than 3 receptions. The Bears had Equanimeous St. Brown catch 2 passes for 39 yards. But Sammy Watkins caught 3 and went for 93. Granted, one was gone for, I think, about 55. So over half of his yardage is 1 catch. But he was the leading receiver in this game. And, yeah, it goes to show that not only that, but Aaron Rodgers spreading around the ball, which, that is something that I know Packers fans really would like to see, because Aaron Rodgers has had struggles in the past, not trusting other receivers when they make especially younger receivers, when they don't make a play. And this was very apparent in their playoff game against San Francisco last year, where in the second half, they pretty much abandoned everything, and Rodgers would just throw to Adams. And so without Adams in the lineup, Rodgers now is kind of almost forced to throw the ball around. He still has Randall Cobb, but He's getting up there in age a little bit. Isn't as fast as he used to be. I have missed one point. I've just been kind of jumping around all around these places in the game. I'm going to finally get to the Justin Fields on 3rd and 4th down and goal in the 4th quarter. Because, boy, that drive, they were pounding it. They were doing pretty well. They got into pretty much a 1st and goal situation just by running the ball. Montgomery had a great drive. Herbert even had a couple big gains. Montgomery on 2nd and 20 after a penalty just ran for like 28 casually. Like, that was a really nice run. Matt Eberflus challenged a pretty, honestly, terrible spot from the refs on a 3rd, and I can't remember the exact distance, but pivots, runs for a 1st down, reaches the ball across. It's a 1st down on the eye test, but the refs, they spot it down short. Matt Eberflus, this was a very smart challenge. Challenged it, got the 1st down, that led it to 1st and goal. They go and give it to Montgomery, and I think Herbert, one each. They go nowhere. And, I'm sitting there like, you have to throw it now. You've been running this entire drive. Packers are not necessarily finally figuring out, but they're finally being able to take them down and keep their gains to a minimum. You've got to throw the ball. That's what they do on 3rd down. Justin Fields looks for a target, can't find anyone, escapes the pocket, ends up going for the pylon, dives, hits the pylon, the ball came out, and it's ruled a touchdown. And when this happened, I was really nervous. I wanted them to call it a touchdown because I knew they were going to review it. But I knew that having the call on the field being a touchdown would be great in our favor because I was really nervous about the ball falling out. So I was really nervous about this. I really wanted the call on the field to be a touchdown. Doesn't really matter anyways. The fumble didn't matter because he was down at the half-yard line. And it takes one look at replay to figure that out. It takes one look. It's not even close. He's short. And so Mike Tirico and Chris Collinsworth are hyping this up like this is going to be one of the great scrums in the NFL this year. This is going to be an absolute dog pile. They got to have someone behind Fields. Fields are going to sneak it. They got to have someone behind Fields who's probably going to kind of just run in and try to push that whole pile across the goal line. But they don't do that. They decide to go shotgun. This was super weird. They decide to go shotgun, and Fields doesn't get it. Simple, plain and simple, he doesn't get it. He comes up literally probably a blade of grass or two short of the goal line. And the call on the field was no good. He didn't get it. By looking on the TV, looked like he got it. They replayed it again. Looked like he may have got it, but with the way I think the football right here on the elbow, you can see the forearm cross the plane, but can you see the ball across the lane? Probably across the plane. That's the phrase. Probably, but it's not obvious and conclusive enough. That is going to be the end of the drive, and the Packers would get it back at the 1, where Aaron Rodgers would then fire that 55-yard bomb to Sammy Watkins, which would set up the final field goal to make it a 3-score game. And that would reach the final score. For me, I think this game is a great learning experience for our younger players. Bears fans, we need to talk. We really need to talk. I am not happy. To all those Bears fans out there who are gloating about the fact that we won against San Francisco and immediately thinking that we were going to crush Green Bay, you are out of your mind. You have no idea what we were going up against. You have no clue. And that is just dumb and delusional. Most of the league knew better because pick Green Bay. It's a safe pick. It's the right pick in these games, especially the one in Lambeau. You cannot pick against Aaron Rodgers at home, especially against a division opponent. He just doesn't lose. Just doesn't lose. He will find a way. And when I mean he will find a way. Listen, I try to not talk about fans as much as I can on this channel. I try to keep it strictly about the game and about the players. I may have failed before, but I've made a commitment this season to just talk about the games and try to put all the fan talk and the trash talk and all the toxicity that can happen and put it aside. This one I can't ignore. Bears fans, you need to learn some humility. You knew this team is not on par with Green Bay. You know this team is not going to the playoffs. You know this year is going to be a long one. But you know what? We have the highest cap space right now in the league going into next season. And depending on how we play, we may get a top 10 draft pick. And we may actually have our first round pick this year because we traded our last year's to New York. So, frankly, even if we win 5 games, I think it's still going to be a top 10 pick. We can get someone really good. So, frankly, Bears fans, hold in. It's going to be a long year. But the sooner that you accept the fact that the team's not going to be good, some of their performances, it's not going to look as bad. And if you just sit there and expect to go 17-0 every single season and win the Super Bowl, you are setting yourself up for disappointment, regardless of fan base. If you expect that, it's not going to happen. Even if you expect the team to go 0-17, it's not going to happen. Every team finds a way to win a game, and every team finds a way to lose a game. So basically, Bears fans, I hope this one shows you some humility and you get knocked down a peg, because some of you guys really were grinding my gears this week leading up to the game because I knew exactly what was going to happen. That being said, this one wasn't as bad as the last 2 years. The last 2 years, they lost by like 25 points and the game was over at like the middle stages of the third quarter. Aaron Rodgers threw for like 5 touchdowns in both of those games. He only threw for 2 this time, which, I mean, it's still a good game for a quarterback, but, you know, he still did throw 2 touchdowns. But compared to the last 2 games in Lambeau, it's pretty good for the defense. And I know it sounds like you lost this game. Why are you trying to find positives? It doesn't matter. You lost. This is what professionals do. And this is what the Bears have got to do. They've got to look at this saying, hey, it's week 2. We're 1-1. We aren't in the death pit in the NFL known as 0-2. We have won one of our first 2 games, and that is absolutely massive, statistically showing when it comes to playoff records. Now, I know this team's not going to the playoffs, but right now, I'm more concerned about the development of Justin Fields. And I know it's like, well, he doesn't have anyone to throw to. He doesn't. You're right. He doesn't really have much to throw to. The thing about this receiver group, and we really don't have like a true quote-unquote number 1 wide receiver. Mooney's a pretty good receiver, but he's only had 1 catch for 8 yards against San Francisco, and he had 1 catch that went for -4 yards tonight. We have Equanimeous St. Brown, who used to play for Green Bay. Equanimeous St. Brown, who has actually played very well for us. I think he's got a couple of receptions now. He's got a touchdown. Dante Pettis, another, kind of like number 3-4 guy. The problem is our receiving core is consisting of a lot of number 3 and 4 guys. And they're getting some exposure, but we need to bolster some of this offensive talent. Our running game, as they showed tonight, can still play. David Montgomery, he was silenced in week 1. Ran for over 100 yards in this one. Khalil Herbert even showed his some flashes of success in this one. So there's a lot that you can take away because this team is very young, especially in the defensive side of the ball. You talk about our secondary. Jalen Johnson, it's his 3rd year in the league. Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, rookies, 2nd NFL game. Of course, this falls away. And for Brisker and Gordon, it's their first road game. And not only is it their first road game, it is in the most hostile environment for the Bears. And it's on national television. So, personally, I'm going to cut these guys a little bit of slack here because it's some of these players' first game on the road in the NFL, first primetime game in the NFL, and first game against Green Bay and Lambeau in the NFL. So there's a lot that can be learned for these guys. There's a lot that can be learned. So many improvements can be made. You can definitely tell, even just by watching the game, you can tell what some of the problems were. Penalties were a bit of a problem in this one. They'd have a lot of penalties. They weren't as disciplined as they were against San Francisco. And to those who think I'm cutting the Bears too much slack, and why am I being okay with this loss? They lost. You shouldn't accept anything but winning. For me, it's a process. Going into the season, I knew they were going to suck. Again, this is not new news. And frankly, I'm trying to take a look at this game as a level-headed as possible, because I know how hard it is when you lose to your favorite rival, and when you lose to your favorite rival a lot, how you can't take anything else but a victory. But for me, especially considering the last 2 times they played them in Lambeau, they played pretty well. And again, if you take away 1 quarter of play, they outscored them 10-6. So frankly, I think the Bears had some positives to take away from this game. It's not all just doom and gloom, negativity that I'm just going to go and spew at you. I want to embrace positivity on this channel. I don't want to be the guy who just sits there and pouts and groans and, oh no, we lost again. This is the worst thing. My entire week is ruined, and I'm going to let this affect my mood for the rest of the week. Trust me, I used to be that way. But I'm trying to keep a positive outlook and just trying to be realistic and trying not to get all worked up about, especially this game here at Lambeau. Any Bears fan who was looking at this game through a realistic perspective knew that we were going to lose this game. So to see them only lose by 17, and the fact they lost by 17 was because they had 1 bad quarter, I think it's fine. And you know what? You have to play 60 minutes. And they sucked for 15 minutes. They really sucked for 15 minutes, and that's what lost the game. They outscored them for 45 minutes of this game. They outscored them for 45 minutes. But the 15 minutes that they didn't outscore them, and they got outscored badly, makes this loss look much worse. One thing this team really needs to do defensively, limit the amount of first downs. I remember watching on my phone, looking at the play-by-play. I think it was a penalty and a sack that got the Packers back to like 2nd and 28. Something really long. Packers converted for a first down. They got like 20 yards on this next play, and then got another, the remaining like 10 they needed to get the first down. That is a place where drive should stall. That is a place where drive should end. And it didn't. Led to a touchdown for Green Bay. So I think as a team they can take away some positives from this game. More on the defense than the offense. But still, again, not good enough. Not good enough. You take away that second quarter, boy, this game is so much closer. So much closer. And it sometimes takes that 1 quarter to break open the floodgates and build an insurmountable lead. Because you do not come back from 17 points down against Aaron Rodgers. It doesn't happen. That does not happen. There are a couple quarterbacks that will not let that happen. Aaron Rodgers is one of them. You go down 3 scores, you're not winning. You're not winning. Well, I've probably bored you to death because you were expecting a very rage-filled video. Sorry to say it didn't happen. I really do apologize. But that's going to do it for this one. Bears going to come back to Soldier Field, hopefully in less rainy conditions, to play Houston. So that's going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Helps the channel grow. And I'd love to potentially hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of this season. I think that'd be pretty rad. I know these videos have been my biggest videos on this channel. The 2 Packer reactions from last season are either pretty much at 20,000 or over 20,000 views. That is literally 10 times more than the next highest viewed video on the channel. It's absolutely insane how many people really want to watch me just yell and scream about the Bears against losing to the Packers. It's really honestly astounding. But channel's at about 250 subscribers. If we could get that thing up to about 1,000, that would be amazing. So share this with your friends. And Bears got Houston next week. Can they beat Houston? If they lose to Houston, oh my goodness, that would be catastrophic. But anyways, I've been going on for a very long time, and I think it's time for us to part ways. So thanks everyone for watching. I will see you all next week. Take care.